Hey there, I'm on the balcony of my guest house right in front of my room looking out at the spectacular view of the Himalaya Mountains here in the Kulu Valley. Give a quick little scan of the amazing scene here. The sun just went down behind that ridge right there. It was nice and warm. I was soaking up the warm sunshine and now it's gone, but things have warmed up in the past week at least. It isn't as cold as when I arrived here about a week ago. So in this video then I wanted to discuss the topic of enlightenment and what I see as a big misunderstanding around the quest for enlightenment, which that term is kind of a generic term, I would say. I did another video discussing what is enlightenment and talking about how, first of all, I don't know what enlightenment is exactly, but that I think it is kind of a carrot at the end of the stick that propels people forwards in their quest for self-evolution and understanding and self-realization and just making sense of life. This concept that there is a ultimate state of enlightenment in which suddenly everything makes sense, you have it all figured out, you're in a perfect state of bliss 24/7, kind of like you've reached the end of the video game, completed the final level, and then that's it, you're done, you're out of here. I don't think that's actually the way that it works, that there is a ultimate state of enlightenment and there you are and you did it and you're done and you're finished. Maybe there is, I don't know. But anyways, just the general concept of seeking wholeness, oneness, whatever you want to call it. Then I think there is a conception of this dichotomy or this paradigm between troubling thoughts and emotions and the quest for peace of mind and how exactly to achieve peace of mind. So there are two different realities that, pardon the unhappy cow, part of being in a small village in the Himalayas. So there are two extremes that I want to illustrate here for people to consider. One is one of being lost in your emotions and your feelings and your desires with no control of your own, just being dragged around by your desires and your emotions, and in a constant state of needing something else, wanting something else, being pushed forwards by your various strong emotions, lost in your subjective experience with no real understanding of what it's all about and a grander overview of your life and reality. So there's that that part of the spectrum. And so the antidote in many spiritual paradigms is therefore remove yourself from that that reality, being stuck in your emotions and your feelings and your desires and your bodily needs and all this, and seek a higher plane of observation, of disconnecting from all that you're being pulled around by, and come to a place of being a observer of all of this stuff going on within you, and seek to disassociate from it, and therefore you will find peace of mind and ultimate bliss and enlightenment through that process of extracting yourself from that confusing subjective experience into a place of supreme thought and just the peace of simply being aware of your existence without being caught up in this swirling experience. And so as I see it, these are actually the two extremes. The second scenario that I outlined there is generally painted as being the path to enlightenment, the ultimate way to get to peace of mind, is to forego, deny, separate from all that confusing stuff, and understand that you are not your emotions, you're not your feelings, you're not your desires, you're not your body, you're not your troubling thoughts, and therefore identify with something else beyond all of that stuff. So I would agree that, in a sense, we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions, we are not our body, we are not our desires. You can lop off your arm, obviously, and still survive, and still be you. So your arm is not you. Your emotions come and go. You're angry one minute and joyous and ecstatic the next. You are not that emotion. However, I think that it is a big misunderstanding to say that because you are not your body, you're not your feelings, you're not your emotions, you're not your thoughts, therefore seek to disconnect from them. And that's the ultimate point that I want to make here, is that this is the other extreme. This is the alternate polarity to that experience of being completely lost in your subjective experience and seeking to rise above it. And as I see it, then there is actually a balance to be found between these two realities, and that, in fact, the ultimate solution to finding that state of true oneness with who you really are is one of injecting your conscious spiritual awareness fully into your subjective experience, including your swirling feelings and emotions and desires and your physical body. That even though our ultimate self is not our thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires, our body, all of these are expressions of who we are. And in a sense, they actually are part of who we are. You can say they aren't who you are, but they're part of your experience. They're an expression of your soul. And the ultimate resolution to them is not to separate from them, but to fully embrace them to the extent that you transform them. And the important thing to understand here is that consciousness transforms. The light of consciousness changes what it focuses on. And that it is through the imbuing your consciousness into your experience completely, totally, fully, that you change it. It is not by retreating from all of that swirling, confusing, difficult, challenging, weird, mysterious, scary stuff that is going on within you. It is not through separating from it that you resolve it. It is through fully immersing yourself in it with the light of your spiritual awareness. Because these are aspects of who you are. Emotion is part of consciousness as much as is the pure light of awareness. Emotion is a response to reality, to your experience, and disconnecting from it is disconnecting from your experience and thus coming out of the now. coming out of the moment and out of yourself. And so it is actually through fully bringing your spiritual conscious awareness into your subjective experience that you embrace all that you truly are and resolve it. And really what I'm talking about here is masculine and feminine. That masculine is the light of consciousness, and feminine is the subjective experience of being. And our world is very much in a masculine imbalanced paradigm because experience is difficult and challenging, especially in this 3D world. And the solution has determined to be to seek to retreat from experience and from those troubling thoughts and emotions that bother us. And this is swinging the pendulum to the other direction in a different state of imbalance. And we really need to come to a centered place of finding true balance and resolution with those two extremes, with the reality of our experience. Because whatever we're experiencing, if it is crazy, difficult, troubling, weird thoughts and emotions and desires, that is our experience, that is our now, that is the present moment. And the resolution the ultimate way to alter our reality is to dive as deeply into the present moment as we possibly can. And so that means notice what you're experiencing, and whatever you're experiencing for a reason, for a good reason, and the way to deal with it is to dive deeper into it, not to seek to get out of it, retreat from it. Just observe it as if it doesn't really have anything to do with you, and you're just a objective observer of your own experience. We need to be subjective experiencers of our experience in order to shift that experience, and not just be observing it from afar, and from a place of being disconnected from that which we are truly experiencing. So my ultimate point here, pardon me, I just had a beer for one thing, and a little tired, a long day here, so trying to not stumble over my words too much here. But so the point here is to find that balancing point between seeking to make sense of and understand and observe and come to greater awareness and consciousness of what you are experiencing, and simultaneously experience it fully and allow yourself to be caught up in it, but with a conscious awareness of it. And that, to me, is kind of the crux of the concept of self-mastery, is that self-mastery is not a matter of controlling. There's a difference between control and mastery. Control is putting limitations on something. For example, controlling a lion would be putting a lion in a cage so that the power of that lion can't harm you because it is contained, it is controlled. Mastery of that lion would be being a lion tamer. But there are two different types of lion tamers. One is a lion tamer that masters the lion through threat of pain, and I'm thinking of this because of a recent video that I saw. So there's the typical lion tamer in a circus who holds a whip, and certainly they have, they're using their mental powers as well here, but they're holding a whip, and there's the threat of the lion getting hit by the whip, and so that's part of the dealing with the lion is making clear that you are dominant and that you are a potential threat to them. So that's one way to tame the lion. There's another way, and there's a video of this guy. I wish I could remember what the title of it is. It's really amazing. It's about this guy who just has this relationship with lions and various other large cats. And he goes out into the savannah of Africa and goes around just like hugging lions. It's absolutely incredible. I saw that video a couple weeks ago. I forget if he had a previous relationship with these lions that they showed him going up to in the video or not, but the people on that are filming have to be in a cage. They're inside a cage out in the African plains, and so they're filming from this cage. And then they show this guy, and he's looking around, and he sees some lions, and these lions come running up to him and just give him a big old hug. Just because he has some, mental, psychic, spiritual connection with lions, and then he does it with hyenas as well, so that he is not perceived as their food, prey, and he is also not perceived as a threat. He's just perceived as another lion, I guess. And so he, obviously has some seriously extreme mastery of the lion energy there. So getting back to my point here is finding that place of mastery of your own energy that isn't controlling, containing, repressing your base root feelings, emotions, desires, bodily impulses and everything, but that also is not lost in them, being dragged around by them, being controlled by them beyond your own will. And that is really the ultimate balancing point in the quest for making sense of yourself and of your own consciousness and finding the true potential within, and also of finding that balance between masculine and feminine, the upper and lower, the objective seeking to understand yourself and reality and your experience, and allowing yourself to be also just lost in your experience in a way, or at least immersed in it, not just observing yourself in your life from a place up in your head of being in like some observation tower of your life, but really living it while seeking to make sense of it all. And so I think that a lot of paths, spiritual paths, are have swung this other direction of being too far in the direction of trying to separate from the fullness, the truth of who you are and your experience, and this is retreating from reality and from the now and from the present moment, and that our emotions and desires are part of who we are an expression of who we are a natural result of living life in this experience of contrast and the third dimensional realm especially, and that we need to dive fully into these aspects of consciousness, because they are part of consciousness. They are not some separate thing that is an illusion and not part of the reality, the totality of of experience and of our spirit. That they are just denser forms. Emotion is a denser form of consciousness than is supreme awareness. In the same way that red is a denser, you could say, color than purple. It is vibrating at a lower frequency than is purple or blue. But that does not mean that it is inferior or less than or not part of the whole, the oneness. It is part of the oneness. And so we need to fully engage in the lower parts of ourselves in order to come to a place of true oneness or being. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Take care. And one last look at the view here. Sun going down over the Himalaya Mountains, Manali, Kulu Valley, Himachal Pradesh State, northern India. Namaste.